So Jai Bhim and Namo Buddhaya to all of you. We will begin with our Pali chanting. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So today we are going to study the part 6 of the book 2 of the Buddha and his Dhamma. And this is about the conversion of the low and the lowly. So as we have seen in the book 2, Baba Sahib Ambedkar has tried to talk about the Buddha's conversion of the people from various classes and various social positions and various economic positions. And we have seen in the last 4 parts as to how the Buddha has converted people from different walks of life. Today, we are going to look at conversion of the low and the lowly. So this is going to be the topic of our class today. And here, specifically, we are going to look at 5 sections. And these 5 sections are very, very interesting to look at. Number 1, conversion of Upali, the Barber. So in the section 1, we are going to talk about the conversion of Upali, the Barber. Then in the second section, we are going to talk about conversion of Sunita or Sunit, the sweeper. And third, we are going to talk about the conversion of Sopaka and Suppiya, the untouchables. Fourth, the conversion of Sumangala and other low castes. And fifth, conversion of Suprabuddha, the leper. So let's begin with Upali. And we have seen in the previous sections, previous parts, as to how Upali left with the Sakyans. And he also accompanied the royal the young men from the royal Sakyan families to walk towards the Buddha. And after coming across a river, all these Sakyan princes, they handed over their precious garments and their precious ornaments to Upali. And Upali turned back. So that was where our story stopped there when we were looking at that particular section in a part. So here, while going back to Kapilavastu, Upali thought, the Barber thought, the Sakyans are a first people. The Sakyans are very first people. They are fighters. If I go back with these ornaments, they will kill me, thinking that I have killed my companions and run away with their ornaments. Why should I not go to the way these young men of the Sakya clan have gone? So he said that when he returns to Kapilavastu, and if the residents of the Kapilavastu finds Pali back with the ornaments and the precious garments, because that was the time the garments were supposed to be, the cloths were supposed to be very expensive. And you can sell them in the market, even if they were like secondhand. So he thought that people will think that I might have killed the Sakyan princess and I might have snatched their wealth from them. So he said that why should I not go the way these young men of the Sakya clan have gone? That was a question arose. And the second question that arose in his mind, Upali the Barber's mind, was why indeed should I not? Asked Upali to himself, and he let down the bundle of ornaments from his back and hung it on a tree, saying, let him who finds it take it as a gift, and return to follow the Sakya youths. So he left whatever belonging that had been given to him by the Sakya princess. He hung it over a tree, and then he left to follow the Sakya princess. And the Sakyans saw him coming from far, and on seeing, they said to him, what have you come back for, good Upali? Good Upali, why did you come back? You could have gone back with our precious garments and ornaments, and you could have lived your life happily. Why did you come back? Then he told them what he felt, and they replied, thou hast done well, good Upali, thou hast done well. In that thou did not return, for the Sakyans are fierce, and they might have killed thee. And they took Upali the barber with them to the place where the Blessed One was. And on arriving there, they bowed down before the Blessed One and took their seats on one side. And so seated, they said to the Blessed One. This is what the Sakyan princess. This is a very historical episode. What is going to follow is a very historical episode, and that has a repercussion in the Buddhist history. Commit this name Upali the Barber to your memory, because his name is so important in the Buddhist history. Because the Vinay Pitaka was recited by the Upali, because Upali was a barber and he was always present to tonsure the heads of the newly ordained monks. So he had all this understanding. He had remembered. He has memorized the text of Vinaya. So Upali is a very prominent name in the Buddhist history, because he is somebody who has given us what is called the Vinaya Pitaka. So the Sakyans, they said to the Buddha, we Sakyans, Lord, are haughty, and this Upali the barber has long been an attendant, Lord, upon us. So this Upali, being a barber, has been an attendant, and he has been attending the Sakyans. He might be helping them with the haircut or helping them with the shaving and so on and so forth. So they said, may the Blessed One admit him to the order before us, because we are very haughty, we are very arrogant. So let him be ordained before us, so that we may render him respect and reverence and bow down with outstretched hands before him as our senior, and thus shall the Sakyans' pride be humbled in us. Because Sakyans were very, very proud people. And you look at this, that Upali, the barber, was their attendant for a long time. And notwithstanding that, the Sakyans decided that they would like to have Upali ordained before them. Now there is in Buddhism, in Buddhist order, monastic order, if somebody is ordained before you, that means you have to pay respect to them. So by default, now the Sakyan princess had to pay respect to Upali the barber. And this is beautiful, right? Beautiful sort of a line here. Bow down with outstretched hands before him as our senior. Then the Blessed One received first Upali the barber, and afterwards those young men of the Sakya clan into the ranks of the order. Now this story doesn't end here. After giving ordination to Upali, the Buddha smiled. The Buddha smiled after ordaining Upali, and that smile is very mysterious. That smile is very wonderful, because that smile communicated the power, the love of Buddha for the equality. Buddha smiled after ordaining Upali, because he was establishing that there is no high or no low when it comes to the Buddha's Dhamma. All are same, whether you are a prince or a barber or whoever you are, it doesn't matter. Just like all the rivers, when they merge into the ocean, lose their individual identity. Just like that, the Buddha's Sangha was, that when anybody entered into that ocean of Sangha, they lost their individual identity. And that is what is very significant about Upali's conversion. And Upali indeed proved to be a very talented disciple of the Buddha. He recited all the Vinaya Pitaka, and he was well versed in the Vinaya Pitaka. And we owe whatever we have been handed over in terms of the Vinaya Pitaka to Upali, because Upali committed to memory everything about the Vinaya Pitaka. Now, this second section is about the conversion of Sunita, the sweeper. Now, the sweeper of today and the sweeper of that time remarkably different, because the practice of manual scavenging or whatever is a modern origin. So, but there might be somebody who might be sweeping the villages or like that. So there was a person who was living in Rajagraha, and a scavenger by name Sunita. His name was Sunita. He earned his living as a road sweeper, sweeping away the rubbish thrown by the householders on the roadside. His was a low and hereditary occupation. One day in the early hours of the dawn, the Buddha rose, dressed himself, and walked into the Rajagraha for alms, followed by a large number of bhikkhus. Now Sunita was cleaning the street, collecting the scraps, rubbish, and so on into the heap, and filing there with the basket which he carried on a yoke. He was carrying a basket. Now Sunita was cleaning the street, collecting the scraps, rubbish, and all these things he was collecting. And when he saw the master, the Buddha, and his train approaching, his heart was filled with joy and awe. You imagine a morning scene where the Buddha is walking with his disciples in the Rajagriha city, and Sunita is sweeping the streets. He is removing the rubbish of the roads. Finding no place to hide on the road, he placed his yoke in a bend in the wall and stood as if struck to the wall, saluting the Lord with clasped hand. Very interesting, this verse number 5. That's how Sunita was paying reverence to the Buddha. Then the Lord, when he had come near, spoke to him in voice divinely sweet. See, I think Baba Sahib's love for the Buddhas, we can see it reflecting in this, in the phrases like in voice divinely sweet. That's how Baba Sahib Ambedkar compares the voice of the Buddha as something divinely sweet, saying, Sunita, what to you is this wretched mode of living? What to you is this wretched mode of living? Can you endure to leave home and come into the order? See, this line in the verse number 6 is so revolutionary, and it even applies today. Instead of living a wretched life, instead of living a life that is condemned to the poverty and suffering, the Buddha asked a very simple question to Sunita. Sunita, what to you is this wretched mode of living? Can you endure to leave home and come into the order? So in our society today, we have people, who are forced to practice the modes of living which are not noble, they are ignoble, and the vocations which degrade them, which dehumanizes them, which treats them low, which treats them down, and which treats them less than the human beings. The Buddha is asking them the question in the modern times. We can think of this question like this. And Sunita, experiencing the rapture of one who has been sprinkled with ambrosia. So when Sunita heard this divinely sweet words of the Buddha, is what happened to Sunita. Experience the rapture of one who has been sprinkled with ambrosia, said, if even such as the exalted one may in this life take orders, why should I not? If such a great man like you has been, taking people in the order and himself has joined the order, why should I not? Sunita said that if a great man like you has, joined the order, why can't I? May the exalted one suffer me to come forth. Beautiful line. Then the master said, come bhikkhu, ei bhikkave. He said, come bhikkhu, now join. And Sunita, by that word, received sanction and ordination and was invested with bowl and robes. On that very spot where Sunit met Tathagata, on that very spot where they had this beautiful conversation, the Buddha asking Sunita, why can't he live such kind of a wretched life and join the holy order? And on that very spot, the Buddha admitted Sunita in his order, handing over him the robe and the bowl and saying, come, ei bhikkave. So now, verse number 10, when asked how Sunit became so great, the Buddha said, as on a rubbish heap, on highway caste, a lily may grow, fragrant and sweet, so among rubbish creatures, worldlings, blind by insight, shines the very Buddha's child. What a beautiful line. I'm going to read it slowly. As on a rubbish heap on highway, caste a lily may grow. A beautiful lily may grow on the heap of rubbish beside the road. So among rubbish creatures, worldlings, blind by insight, shines the very Buddha's child. So you see, the Buddha's child can be found anywhere, in any community, in any group of people, in any society. It doesn't matter whether it's a rich community or a poor community. The Buddha's child, the son of the Buddha, the Sakya Dut, can be found anywhere. The son of the Buddha can be found anywhere. So these two stories of Jivaka, of Upali and Sunit, they are very interesting, because one talks about the equality that the Buddha, Buddha liked so much. He smiled after giving ordination to Upali, and when it came to Sunita, he ordained him then and there, saying that, why do you live such a wretched life as you are living? And then we go to the section number 3. It's about the conversion of Sopaka and Suppiya, the untouchables. And it's also a beautiful story of Sopaka and Suppiya, the untouchables, and how they were converted. The Sopaka's mother, people thought that she was dead, and she was put on the funeral pyre, but she was not dead. And then when she was, she was found not dead, she delivered a child. And before her death, she gave birth to a child, and the child was adopted by a watchman of the cemetery. Now, today also, we have the caste in India who live in the cemeteries. There is a particular caste which lives in the cemetery all over the country, in Maharashtra as well. So the child was adopted by the watchman of the cemetery, and was brought up by him along with his own child, Supriya. So Sopaka and Supriya. So that man who was working in the cemetery had already a son. His name was Supriya, and Sopaka, whose mother she delivered him, and she died. So the Blessed One happened to pass by the cemetery. So when Buddha was walking near the cemetery, the Blessed One happened to pass by the cemetery. Sopaka, seeing the Lord, approached him. After saluting the Lord, he asked his permission to join him as his disciple. And Sopaka that time was only 7 years old. Sopaka that time, when he saw the Buddha near the cemetery, as we talk, you just imagine, the ancient India, and there was a cemetery and a child in a cemetery, and he sees Buddha near the cemetery, and then he approaches the Buddha and he asks him whether he can join him. So Sopaka was then only 7 years old. So the Lord asked him to obtain the father's consent. Sopaka went and fetched his father. The father saluted the Lord and requested him to admit his son to the order. Notwithstanding that he belonged to the Pariha community, means untouchable community, means somebody who is thrown out of socially boycotted community, the Lord admitted him to the order and instructed him in the doctrine and discipline, Dhamma Vinaya. Sopaka later became a Thera. Suppiya and Sopaka had grown together from childhood, and Sopaka, having been adopted and brought up by Suppiya's father, Suppiya learned the Lord doctrine and discipline from his companion Sopaka, and requested Sopaka to admit him to the order, although Sopaka belonged to a community which was lower in rank than the community to which Suppiya belonged. See, the man from the so-called lower community is admitting the man from the so-called higher community. Sopaka agreed, and Suppiya, a member who belonged to the despised community whose occupation was to perform the duties of a watchman in the cemetery, became a bhikkhu. So you see, this section number 3 will communicate to us as to how people from all different walks of life, particularly considered to be low and lowly by that social order, even the Buddha ordered them. When you think about the ancient India, and the Buddha is opening the doors of his order to people from all walks of life, it was revolution. because these spiritual occasions were meant for certain group of people, and the Buddha has opened the doors of deathlessness, the nirvana, for people from all over the social sort of strata. And I think this section number 4 is also very interesting in terms of conversion of Sumangala and other low caste. So now Baba Sahib Ambedkar just lists out who were the people from the so-called low caste who converted to Buddhism. So there was Sumangala. He was a very small farmer from Shravasti. He earned his living by work in the fields, working with a little sickle, plow and spade. So Sumangala was a peasant, maybe a marginal farmer. Channa was a native of Kapilvastu and a slave in the house of Shuddhodhan. We all know Channa. We all have heard the stories of the Channa. So Channa was a slave in the house of Shuddhodhan. He was also ordained into the order. Dhanya was a resident of Rajgraha. He was a potter. Kapatakura. Now this is a wonderful name. Kapatakura was a native of Shravasti. The only way he knew of to support himself was to go about clad in rags, pan in hand, seeking for rice grains. Hence he became known as Kapatakura, rags and rice. When grown up, he maintained himself by selling grass. All of them sought from the Buddha permission to become bhikkhus and enter the order. The Buddha, without hesitation and without caring for their low birth or their previous condition, admitted them into the order. You imagine now the Buddha's Sangha. I told you the Buddha has said that my Sangha is like the ocean. When the different rivers merge into the ocean, they lose their identity, just like is my Sangha. So when all these rivers having their individual identity, when they join the ocean, they lose their individual identity and become the holy men and women. So these are the indications of illustrations of how Baba Sahib Ambedkar has tried to demonstrate about Buddha's deep sense of love, reverence and respect for any human being. So Buddha had this deep respect and reverence for all human beings without their station, without their social location. And I think that's very important for us to understand when we are understanding the conversion movement that the Buddha launched. I'm going to talk a bit more about the section number 5 because it's a very interesting sort of section. It's about Suprabuddha, the leper. And as I told you that because these are the stories, please imagine what might have happened. And it's a very interesting story to even listen. Okay, so listen carefully the story. So once the exalted one was staying near Rajagraha in the bamboo grove at squirrels feeding ground. See, the Buddhist sutras, they give the location where this event took place. And sometimes they give the time also. And the people involved in that sutra. So here also the location of this encounter with Suprabuddha took place in a town near, was staying near Rajagraha in the bamboo grove at the squirrels feeding ground. So that's the setting. That's the geographical, physical setting. Now there lived in Rajagraha at that time a certain man who was a leper, and his name was Suprabuddha. So the name of the leper was Suprabuddha. He was living in Rajagraha. He was a poor man, a wretched man, miserable creature. And it happened at the time that the exalted one was sitting there in the midst of a great multitude teaching the Dhamma. Now imagine the scene. Verse number 3, imagine the scene, the Buddha with a multitude of people around him. He's sitting there and he's teaching the Dhamma. Just, throw your mind to the period and imagine the Buddha teaching the multitude of the people. And Suprabuddha, the leper, saw from afar the multitude gathered together, and at the sight he thought, without a doubt, an alms giving of food, both hard and soft, is towards yonder. Suppose I draw near to yonder crowd, I might get there something to eat, food soft or hard. So because he was a poor man, he was a wretched man, he was a leper. So seeing this crowd sitting there in the Veluvan, the Buddha is teaching the Dhamma to the multitude of people. He saw the crowd, and Sumangala thought that, there must be distribution of food might be going on. Somebody might be, donating the food, the good food maybe, or maybe the food hard and soft. So should I go there and, just see and try to get food from there? That's what Suprabuddha thought from the distance, because he saw the crowd up there. So upon seeing that, Suprabuddha the leper approached the multitude, the crowd where the Buddha was teaching. So Suprabuddha the leper drew near that crowd and beheld exalted one sitting there amidst a great crowd, preaching the non, preaching the Dhamma. So seeing the exalted one, he thought, no, there is no alms giving here of food. It is Gautama, the Shramana, preaching the Dhamma in the assembly. Suppose I were to listen to his teaching. So when he draw near the crowd, he saw that the Buddha is teaching his Dhamma to the multitude of people, and he thought, oh no, there is no alms giving going on here. There is no alms giving of food here. But the Gautama, the Shramana, is preaching the Dhamma in the assembly. Suppose I were to listen to his teaching. So he draw near to the crowd. He was among the crowd. He might have sat and he might be listening. He said, okay, let me listen to what the Buddha says, what Gautama says. So he sat down at one side thinking, I too will listen to the teaching. He sat nearby one side and he thought, even I too will listen to the teaching. Now that I have come so near, let me also listen to the teaching. Now the exalted one, the Buddha, reading his the thoughts of that whole gathering, said to himself, who I wonder, the Tathagata said, who I wonder of this present is able to grasp the truth. So he looked at the crowd, because the Buddha had this very observing eye. He was a very mindful man. So he looked at the crowd and he thought that who might be able to grasp the truth that I'm expounding. Then he saw Suprabuddha in the crowd, a poor, wretched man, leper, he saw in the crowd. And at the sight of him, he knew this one can grasp the truth. So you see, truth is not privy of the privileged people or the rich people or educated people or whoever they are. The truth is the privilege of anybody who wants to receive it. Because when Suprabuddha drew close to the crowd, he might be having this urge to listen to the truth. And the Buddha might have noticed that urge in him in the crowd, that here is a man who is so thirsty to know the truth. Here is a man who is so open to learning the truth. So for the sake of Suprabuddha, the leper, the master preached a sermon dealing in due order with these topics: on almsgiving, on the holy life, and on heaven world. So there is a traditional sort of order here. It is said in some of the commentaries, this is how the Buddha taught, by Dana Katha and Sagga Katha and so on and so forth. But I think it's a formulaic thing that gets repeated everywhere in the Pali text. Okay. And he pointed out the meanness and vileness of sensual desires and the profit of freedom from the asavas. We are going to look at all these technical terms in the future. So the Buddha, the Lord, pointed out to the meanness and vileness of sensual desires, kamachanda, and the profit of freedom from the asavas. Now, when the exalted one saw that the heart of the Suprabuddha, the leper, was softened, you just listen this word carefully. What has happened to the heart, the mind of Suprabuddha? It was softened. It was pliant. It was not rigid. It was pliant, set free, elated, and full of faith. See, we all need these qualities in order to understand the anything. And now we are talking about the truth, the Dhamma. So we need these qualities very much so. So the quality of our mind softened. They are not there. Or if our mind is rigid, if our mind is very firm, if our mind is not malleable, if our mind is not pliant, then it cannot learn. So when the Buddha taught gradually to the crowd and particularly aiming at Suprabuddha, he saw that Suprabuddha, the leper's heart was softened, pliant, set free, elated, and full of faith. Then he set forth to him the Dhamma most excellent of the Buddha to wheat, suffering, the cause of suffering, the ceasing of suffering, and the path. So the Buddha then taught four noble truths to Suprabuddha. Now this is gradual, this sort of a framework to teach has been, given in various sort of Pali text and the commentaries. So when Buddha taught him about the four noble truths, what happened to Suprabuddha the leper? Just as a white cloth, his mind was pure now. Listening to the Tathagata's words, his mind was pure now. And Baba Sahib says in the verse number 10, then just as a white cloth free from stains is ready to receive the dye. So before you dye any cloth, you have to make it stainless. You have to make it stain free. Okay. Even so in Suprabuddha, the leper, as he sat there in that very place, arose the pure, stainless insight of the truth. The knowledge that whatever has a beginning, that also must have an end. Yam kinchi samude dhammam sabbam tam vedam. And this formula, he dhamma hetu pabbava, tesang hetu tasagato avo, tesang cha nirodho, evam vadi mahasamano, found in all the Buddhist sites, archaeological sites, from South India to Afghanistan, everywhere you will find this sutta repeated, he dhamma hetu pabbava. It's called he dhamma hetu pabbava. And the short form of this sutta, this principle is yam kinchi samude dhammam sabbam tam vai dhammam. If you remember, this is what Ashwaji taught to Sariputra when they met, and this is what the Buddha arrived at while giving his discourse. And he said that the knowledge that whatever has a beginning, that also must have an end. And Suprabuddha leper saw the truth. He saw as it is. He saw the reality, reached the truth. See, you see this crescendo of the way Baba Sahib Ambedkar has written this Buddha and Dhamma. I'm going to read now this 4 or 5 phrases, and you will understand the beauty of the language. It's like, hitting continuously and with a larger impact. So see, and Suprabuddha the leper saw the truth, reached the truth. It's not enough to even see the truth. Reach the truth, perceived the truth, plunged into the truth. He plunged into the truth, crossed beyond doubting, was freed from all questioning. He was free from all the questioning. He was free from all the doubts. Was one confidence and needing nothing further. So when you are awakened to the truth, you don't need anything further. Everything is settled for you. All the questions have been answered, needing nothing further, being established in master's teachings, sprang up from his side and drew near to him, and there he sat down at one side. So you see, this is very symbolical. Suprabuddha looking at the crowd from a distance, then he's coming to near the Sangha, he's seeing that the Buddha is giving the discourse, then he's listening, sitting at one side, and once he was awakened to the truth, once he was plunged into the truth, he drew very close to the Buddha. It's like he's not traversing the distance in the physical distance, but he's also traversing the psychological distance, far from the Buddha, near to Buddha, and just near the Buddha, becoming the Buddha himself, becoming the Arhanta himself, realizing what the Buddha realized. And I think this is very, very beautifully explained by Baba Sahib Ambedkar here. So sprang up from his seat, drew near to him, and there he sat down at one side. So seated, he said to the exalted one, excellent, O Lord, excellent. O Lord, just as if. Now, this is a traditional formula. Please listen. Just as if, Lord, one should lift up the fallen. One should lift up the fallen, discover the hidden, point the way to one bewildered, show light in the gloom, saying, now they who have eyes to see, and they who have eyes to see. Now they who have eyes to see can see shapes. Even so, in diverse ways has the exalted one expounded the truth. I, even I. See, what a beauty of language. I, even I, Lord, do go for refuge to the exalted one, to the Dhamma, to the norm, and to the order of brethren. May the exalted one accept me as his follower, as one from this time forth even to life's end has gone to refuge in him. Buddhang yava jivitam, till the end of the life, I take refuge in the Buddha. That's what Suprabuddha, the leper, is telling to exalted one. Thereupon Suprabuddha, the leper, being taught, established, roused, and made happy by the exalted one's pious talk, praised and welcomed his words, gave thanks and rose up from his seat, saluted the exalted one by the right, and went away. See, even the leper, even the poor, wretched man, even the people from all stations of life, they had been accepted in the order. They have been. Suprabuddha was not, he didn't want to join the order, but he had taken the refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Unfortunately, the verse number 13, unfortunately, it came to pass that a young calf flung the leper Suprabuddha down and gored him into death. So that's how Suprabuddha met his death. But it's very remarkably clear that Suprabuddha, the leper, had attained to the truth. And I'm going to repeat these lines again before we open up for the discussion. And we will have a discussion on this topic. And Suprabuddha, the leper, saw the truth. He saw the truth, reached the truth, perceived the truth, plunged into the truth, crossed beyond doubting, was freed from all questionings, won confidence, and needing nothing further, being established in master's teaching, sprang up from his seat and drew near to him. And there he sat down at one side. So with this, we will conclude our part 6, and we will open up our class for the further discussion. Anybody would like to say something or comment or whatever?
I would like to repeat, Mangesh sir.
Yes, Pankaj bhai.
This part 6 has extreme significance in the present caste system. If you see, Buddha has established oneness or the equality among various people. As you say, the ocean of Dhamma welcomes everyone.
Yes.
While converting the low and lowly,
yes,
he broken the mindset of also the low people, that your work or whatever work, your profession, what is, it's never the lowly. It is for your, for his livelihood. So if you see in the present caste system, the upper caste, Buddha being always, the master. In the present caste system, such thing has never been adopted by the top class people or the upper caste people.
Yes.
They have never put apologies for this caste system, or they have never shown regret for this caste system.
Yes.
So this attitude of Buddha is never accepted or never approached by in our caste system by upper caste.
Right.
So this realization to upper caste is important, I think.
Yes, very important. It's very important, and the point you made is very significant, because this section is about it's actually a revolutionary section. And the Buddha smiles after the ordination of Upali, because he has challenged the pride of the Sakyans, because Sakyans were very proud people. They were very haughty. They were very proud people. They were a very proud community. They were very fierce. And they now are going to salute with outstretched hands. You know, the words used are outstretched hands like this to Upali, their former attendant, is very significant, is very revolutionary. Isn't it?
True.
And then this all the examples of, Sunita. And I think this question has to be asked even today to the communities which are living the wretched life, wretched mode of living. Can't we find other vocations? Very big question. Isn't it? Can we not do something which is noble instead of, dying in a dirt that we all hear about every day, that people are dying in the sewage, people are dying in the drainage and whatnot. And the body is infested with diseases because of dealing with this hazardous and poisonous materials, medical waste, and so on and so forth. So you see, these questions are still relevant.
True. Yeah.
Yes. In this section, it is to bring to notice that whatever may be the person's caste or job, he is capable of understanding, learning Dhamma, and he can attain Nibbana.
Yes. Yes, very, very, very important point. Anybody can attain. It's very interesting and very important point, man. No, I think you see when I have been always very much impressed by the encyclopedic knowledge of Baba Sahib Ambedkar when it comes to Buddhism. Like this section number 4, where he talks about this Kapatakura. I never heard of this term before. I have never come across this in the Pali text. Who is this Kapatakura? A native of Shravasti. And this is like a vagabond. The only way he knew to support himself was to go about clad in rags, pan in hand, seeking for rice grains. Hence he became known as Kapatakura, rags and rice. Isn't it? So even a person like that can become a bhikkhu and attain to the truth is something very inspiring. The example of Daniya, Channa, Sumangala, everybody, all walks of life. There are hundreds and hundreds of names that we see. And millions of people have followed in the footsteps of the Buddha, joined his order, became his upasakas, and have understood the truth. Very remarkable part is this one. So any comments or anything?
To understand Buddha's Dhamma, one must have full faith on Buddha and his Dhamma.
Yes.
And his mind must be open.
Yes.
And open mind and open thoughts. There should not be any doubt on Buddha and his Dhamma.
Yes, that's very true. It's written in a way that is very easily communicable to us. And you get all the elements here. We don't have to, even if with this one book, we can be on our way. It's a very profoundly written book. This story of Suprabuddha is very interesting because, it speaks of us. Because we try to look at the Dhamma from the distance. Then we think, it's something good. So we come nearby, we listen, and then when we listen, we like it so much, we start appreciating the Buddha's teaching, and then we draw closer and closer to the Buddha. So the more we draw closer and closer to the Buddha, the more closer we come to the understanding of the Dhamma. It's very magical. The more we know of the Buddha, the more we understand the Dhamma. And the more we understand the Dhamma, the more we understand the Buddha. Isn't it? So the faith and the understanding grows together. It goes hand in hand. Isn't it? So our minds are opened up to the Buddha, to that person of Buddha. Even this is the case with Baba Saheb Ambedkar. The more we learn about Baba Saheb Ambedkar, the more faith we tend to develop. The more faith we tend to develop in Baba Saheb Ambedkar, the more we want to understand more and more and more and more. The more we understand, the more we go closer and closer to him.
Yes. There is Dhamma Yomam Pasati Saddammam Somam Pasati.
Yes.
Vakali Appasamanu Saddamam Pasati Napa. Vakali.
Yes. He will come.
Yeah.
Vakali will also come.
In Dhamma and Buddha. If we see Buddha, we see Dhamma. If we understand Dhamma, we see Dhamma, then we see Buddha.
Okay, I think Nikhil has asked the question, what does plunged into the truth means in line number 10? That means, you have become one with the truth. You cannot separate yourself from the truth. Your life has become the life of the truth. Your life has so much merged into the Dhamma that your life becomes totally Dhammic. So it's actually it's also, you can say, it's a teaching device, that you have one trace, then you have further trace, tracing and tracing, just like that. So for example, here you see, when we read this again, we can understand, the impact. It is to create the impact of the truth. It is to create the impact of what might have happened to the mind of Suprabuddha. Isn't it? So this is like, this is a kind of a linguistic device where you trace onto something so that you hit the exact spot. So what has happened to Suprabuddha, the leper? He saw the truth. So he saw the truth. That was not enough. He reached to the truth. He reached the truth, perceived the truth, and devoted himself by his mind and body to the Dhamma. His life, his mind, his body cannot be separated from the reality, from the truth. He has become the truth himself. Yes. Devale Sahab, do you want to say something? Dr. Sunil Devale Sahab, you want to say something?
No, nothing.
Okay. So this is all for our today's class, and we will meet. Yes. So this is all for our today's class, and we will meet next week the same time. And very important section, part 7 is very important because it is about the conversion of women, and very interesting discussion that Baba Saheb Ambedkar had in this section. So see you next week. Jai Bhim, Namo Buddha.
Jai Bhim, Jai Bhim.
Name Namo Buddha.
Jai Bhim.
Jai Bhim.